back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidire. The time is 9:34 Central African Time, and we return now to the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza in what the Israeli military is calling Operation Gideon's Chariots. The people of Khan Younis have once again been ordered to evacuate amid what the IDF says will be an unprecedented attack. Thousands are being told to flee to Al Mawasi, an area already overcrowded and lacking basic infrastructure. This latest warning comes after more than 100 people were reportedly killed in just the last 24 hours. And joining us now from Sydney is Ahmad Abadla, a Palestinian from Khan Younis who recently fled the strip and is currently in Sydney. And we speak to him today not only about the horror unfolding on the ground in Khan Younis, but also what such warnings truly mean for people living under constant bombardment and this genocide of proportions never seen before in recent human history. Ahmed, assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media. Really appreciate you giving us your time this morning.
Salam, thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure's all ours. I think first and foremost, as someone that has been and stayed and is from Khan Younis, when you hear of such warnings from the Israeli Defense Force, what can you tell us? What do they mean in literal terms, and what could be the situation on the ground right now in Khan Younis as people try and scramble away, to avoid being bombarded to death, essentially?
Yeah, it's definitely a horrible feeling. I come from a small village on the north side of Khan Younis. It's called Al Qarara. And my family has evacuated our house months and months ago into the genocide, and they're currently sheltering in the Mawasi. I still have some family in Al Qarara before the recent invasion and recent warning, and so they were forced to evacuate once again. My brother, his wife, and his small child to evacuate again back to reunite with my family, who he hasn't seen for about 2 months actually. So a commute of about 10 minutes by a car is almost impossible between the rest of my family and my brother. But now he's kind of reunited after these warnings to evacuate. So to sum up, I mean, 2 years, almost 2 years since the genocide, and the world is silent. It's a horrible feeling under to kind of hear that, your neighborhood, the place where you grew up, you spend your childhood in, all the places that you're familiar with, the shops, the mosques, the house, the villages, and so on and so forth, they're all completely flattened. It's an unbelievable feeling, especially it comes now after almost 80 days of nothing going in, not even a cup of water, not even a small portion of wheat, for gas, for petrol, for electricity, and so on and so forth. It's beyond dire. It's unbelievably difficult to understand how my family is coping. The water is extremely polluted, and the food that is available is only canned food and expired, and so people are, on top of being bombed and starved to death, they're going through all these diseases that are resulting from eating unhealthy or contaminated canned food. So no matter how hard I try to explain the situation to you, no matter how hard my brother tries the situation to me, I could never fathom, and we from the outside could never fathom the level of atrocity and the severity of the situation on the ground now in Al Mawasi, which is, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people are confined in an area that is almost a fifth of the Gaza Strip in general, which is in and of itself considered one of the most densely populated areas in the world. So it's beyond.
Mm. And just from you personally, and from your family, who are in Khan Yunis right now, what does it do to someone emotionally and psychologically to live with this level of constant uncertainty and danger?
It's nerve-wracking, of course. Um, my family, alongside thousands, hundreds of thousands of families in Gaza, have been enduring this for 2 years. So we Palestinians in Gaza really have this trait that we kind of withstand things to a very, very high limit. I remember the world was saying that the UN has declared Gaza as uninhabitable in 2020 or 2019, but not to our own standard. We withstand all these difficulties, but now 2 years into this a humanitarian. I can't even call it genocide anymore. It's beyond the Holocaust, to be honest. People are being burned in their tents, and so it's nerve-wracking. It's beyond the human capacity to kind of withstand the situation psychologically speaking. But people learn how to adapt, and my family tell me that they've grown numb actually from the current situation. They can't feel any longer. People walking down the street talking to themselves, trying to cope. Um, they exhausted all coping mechanisms in terms of psychological and mental, and but they still live. And yeah, it's beyond me to try to fathom how they're holding their ground and not you know collapsing completely.
Mm, mm, mm. I wanna, go back to Al Mawasi, which is essentially where the people of Khan Yunis are told to go. What can you tell us about the area? I know you touched a bit on it and just how densely it's populated, but generally, what kind of infrastructure, if there's still any, or support is available in Al Mawasi for people who flee? Is it really a safe zone?
Well, Al Mawasi is an area. It's like a plural of Amasya. Amasya used to be called like fertile soil where we had old agricultural farms uh, during the time where the the settlements were there, the Israeli settlements. But then, ever since the settlements were withdrawn in 2005, that area has been empty completely, and there's no construction around that area. It's vastly empty and very, very close to the beach along the coast. So you can see most of the tents, the makeshift camps that are now installed. They're right on the coast of the of Khan Yunis, which is called Al Mawasi area. There's a Mawasi in Rafah. There's a Mawasi in Khan Yunis. There's a Mawasi in Al Qarara, where I'm from. So it extends along the coast, and so it's predominantly empty. There's no housing there, and the resources are extremely, extremely rare because of its nature. It's away from, the areas where have the markets, you have the houses, you have the mosques, and the viable areas. So by design, that area is empty of all resources. And so if there's a food truck or there's any resources for food or medical um, equipment that people need from the Mawasi, they have to travel for a very long time, given the lack of transportation at the moment, in order to get few cans of cans of beans. And so it's incredibly difficult for people to move to get those resources.
Mm, mm, mm. And just lastly, before I let you go, all of this, it's happening while this past week we were commemorating the Nakba. As a Palestinian, as someone from Khan Yunis, seeing scenes, that look like what happened plus 70 years ago. how do you internalize it, that generations and generations after what happened in Palestine, well, it's still ongoing, and many might argue that now it's worse than it has ever been for the people of Palestine.
Absolutely. My generation, back to the Nakba generation, and trying to understand the gloomy insight and outlook of the Nakba generation about regarding the Palestinian cause. That generation has lost Palestine. That generation has lost their houses, became overnight a refugee somewhere in the world or in the Gaza Strip. Now, looking at what's happening in Gaza, it's way beyond that Nakba, but our generation is currently bearing witness to these kind of atrocities and the genocide. And I kind of understand that kind of, gloomy outlook of the Nakba generation. But it's a challenge for us. It's a challenge for our generation because Gaza is fighting against the entire world at the moment. Even the Arab world has betrayed the the Gazan population. So between hopelessness and maintaining activism and working hard to push our prospective governments in the diaspora to take action and mobilize the communities and changing the public opinion, it's really hard to strike that balance. But yes, I mean, we celebrated Nakba. We rallied last week in commemoration after 677 years. But we want to keep hopeful. Want to keep hopeful, and against all odds, we need to keep working to stop the genocide and to keep dismantling the system of apartheid that is now, impacting not only Palestinians, but it's impacting the entire world in a way that if we allow this to happen without accountability in Gaza, then it will happen eventually. And it's actually happening now. India and Pakistan is a prime example.
Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you giving us your time, and thank you for those insights on Khan Younis and what the people of that area and region are currently experiencing at this very moment. Getting those messages to essentially leave your homes, leave your lands, or else you'll be bombed and shattered and killed. So yeah, very, very concerning. But yeah, we appreciate these kind of engagements. They're very, very eye-opening.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And my message to all your listeners, really, just keep working for them. They're relying on us. I mean, they haven't given up, so we shouldn't. So thank you again. Appreciate your talk to me.
No, definitely. That was Ahmed Abadla from Khan Younis. Well, he's from Khan Younis in Gaza. I grew up there. He was born there. But because of, obviously, this genocide that we keep talking about, that is so well documented that everyone can see that there's a whole attempt at an erasure of a whole people, agrees that is happening to the people of Gaza. And tens and thousands of Palestinians in Khan Younis have been ordered to flee, as the new target now is Khan Younis by the IDF, by this pariah state, which is Israel. And yeah, it's quite sad, man. And I think we're at a point where you just almost don't know what to do. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to respond, to all of the atrocities that are coming out of Gaza. And it's difficult, I think, as Abdullah mentioned there, to fathom, to kind of put yourself in the shoes of the people of Gaza. I mean, months and months and months of no aid coming in, constant bombardment, children being buried under the rubble, women being killed, men being detained and being murdered, killed, and sodomized even in some instances. And it's starting to be difficult and hard. And I'm just thinking to myself, as the people from the outside who have relatively comfortable lives start feeling the way that we do, start feeling tired and feeling like we don't have the answers and the situation is hopeless. What are the people of Gaza feeling like? What are they thinking at this very moment? It's incredibly hard. Going to take a quick break. News and views continues after this.